Hey guys, Andy here from Well Fired. Welcome to a new and extremely exciting video series, today focusing on uSequencer. I'll start today by giving you a quick overview of uSequencer and how to use and interact with its basic UI. You can open uSequencer by clicking Window, Well Fired Development, uSequencer, Open uSequencer, or with the hotkeys Command and U on Mac or Control and U on Windows. You'll notice that the first time you open uSequencer, you'll be presented with this pop-up window, granting you quick access to our website, blog, documentation, community, and feedback. I'll close this for now, but note that you can reopen this window at any time by clicking the Help Me button in the uSequencer UI. The uSequencer window is the place you'll be doing all your sequencing. Most of your actions will happen here. You'll see that this window can be moved around and docked just like any other Unity window. If you have a 2-monitor setup, you can dedicate a whole monitor to uSequencer, which is recommended but not needed. For this video, I only have 1 monitor, and so we'll dock this window just below the scene in game view. Since this is an empty scene, I currently have no sequences to edit. We can rectify this situation by clicking the Create New Sequence button. This will create a brand new sequence and select it in Unity's hierarchy. You can also rename the sequence here. We'll simply call this sequence Basic Sequence. This is the basic uSequencer UI. There's not much to it, but I'll run you through some of the options now. The first thing to mention is that you can modify all sorts of uSequencer properties by using the buttons alongside the outside of the uSequencer window. You can, for example, change the duration of a sequence by modifying the duration, play the current sequence, pause the current sequence, scrub the current sequence by dragging the scrub bar, and stop the current sequence. The window consists of 2 main areas. The first is the affected objects area on the left here, and the second is the working area on the right. You'll do most of your work in the working area. Sequences are useless without affected objects. Affected objects are game objects that are acted upon in some way by the sequence. There are many ways to act upon an affected object. You could, for instance, make one move along an object path, play an animation on another, or simply modify a value on a component over a given time. Adding affected objects is as simple as dragging them into the uSequencer window. Let's drag the main camera. You'll see that everything is automatically added to the uSequencer window for you. From this point, you can add a number of different timelines to the affected object. You could add the animation timeline for playing animations, an event timeline where you can access one of a library of over 100 events, such as playing audio, teleporting game objects, loading scenes. You could also add an object path timeline, allowing you to create splines in the scene view and access our Handycam Shake features. Or add a property timeline to animate a property over a given time. If we were to add a property timeline to the camera, we could, for instance, animate the camera's field of view or some depth of field properties. For demonstration purposes, I'll add an event timeline and an object path timeline. You can see the hierarchy on the left-hand side of the uSequencer window. To give you a quick overview of doing something in the working area, let's add a very simple event to the event timeline. We'll add a debug message event. The event is fairly simple. It just prints to the console. So, right-click on the event timeline's working area and select Add Event, Debug, Log Message. You'll see the event just shows up here, and you can modify it like any other Unity object in the inspector. We'll set a custom message to uSequencer is the greatest, and modify the fire time. The event itself should just update automatically in the uSequencer window. You can also modify the event directly in uSequencer by dragging it. Note that everything that shows up in the uSequencer working area works this way. You can either interact with it in the inspector or in the uSequencer window. The inspector modifications are generally better if you need to modify multiple objects at once, or if you need precise, frame-by-frame control over anything. If we now play the sequence, you'll see when the event is hit by the scrub bar, the message prints to the Unity's console. This also works when you scrub. One of uSequencer's most powerful features is that everything can be scrubbed and previewed at edit time. Another nice feature worth noting in the uSequencer UI is this quick selection menu. You'll see here I only have 1 sequence to choose from. However, if I create a new sequence, I'll be able to switch between all sequences in this scene. And that's it for this part. Subscribe and stay tuned for more.